Even though it was mid-afternoon on our spaceship, the local time for this part of the planet was early morning. Z and I strolled over from the spaceport to the store, where a package was waiting for pickup, expecting to arrive right when it opened. But nope, we were early. Most of the stores on this city street were still closed and dark, lit by the vivid pink sunrise, and ignored by passing hovercars. Window cleaners soaked up the big front windows of our destination, a good-sized jewelry/accessory store. The cleaners were a pair of strong arms, which made this a fascinating career choice. I seen Mimi climb all over the engine parts on our ship. I knew his tentacles had good enough suction for this sort of thing. But these two were small and particularly athletic, and they had climbed to the top of the window, cleaning from the top down, erasing their suction cut marks as they went. If their cleaning tools had been the messy, old-fashioned kind, there probably would have been too much dripping to make that possible, but these professionals were cleaning fast with nary a slip. Z didn't care.
"How inconsiderate of the proprietor to not be here early to meet us," he said, with an irritated click of his pincher arms. The pink sunrise reflected off his purple exoskeleton, making him more colourful than usual. He probably would have been proud of that if he wasn't busy being annoyed. "Waiting here is boring. Let's see if that shop has anything worth looking at."
He flicked an antenna at the storefront 2 doors over, which had just turned on its light. "Sure," I agreed. "We can at least look through the window if they're not open yet." Z grumbled something that made me suspect he might badger them into letting us in, even if they weren't. Luckily, I didn't have to talk him out of being rude. The store was open, after all. It was a little shop full of miscellaneous knickknacks and multi-species food items. Plenty of things to look at. The Frillian shopkeep was delighted to sell us both snacks. Gummy intestine candy for Z, ew, and mixed nuts for me. I'd had that brand before, and was sure that it didn't hold anything alien that would give me unexpected allergies. I haven't been allergic to any food yet that was rated for human consumption, but I wasn't about to take chances. I also picked up a packet of the heat stickers that Paint and the others liked, since they were on sale and the shopkeep was excited about this new item. "Do you get a lot of heat seekers here?" I asked.
"Oh no, but these have many uses," she told me, typing in the price. "Other species like to be warm as well, especially if they are headed in a cold direction, and my cousin uses them to warm food. I expect these will be very popular."
"I expect so," I agreed. Z was at the door, looking toward the other shop, and he made a little "aha" noise. I finished my purchase, thanked the shopkeep, then joined him in heading back toward the place we'd meant to visit. I carried my purchase in a nifty waterwool bag. The shopkeep hadn't been as excited about that as the heat stickers, so maybe they were old hat here. But I still found the concept of hard water fascinating. It occurred to me that the water bag and the heat stickers could probably make an awful lot of steam together, especially if handled improperly. I'd be back on the ship soon, though, and the bag could melt into regular water safely in the sink. The window cleaners were just packing up as we arrived, and the angle of the sun made their work shine. Not a suction cup mark to be seen. I gave them a polite nod while Z tried the doors. Still locked, but lights were on inside, as well as the morning sun. Someone moved near the counter. When Z rapped on the door and waved a pincher, they hurried forward. It looked like another Mesmer. The door opened.
"Are you the couriers?"
snapped a blue-white bug man, who was slightly shorter than Z. I was a terrible judge of Mesmer ages, but he sounded older. He spoke directly to Z.
"Yes," Z said. "From the good ship Slap the Stars." "Great, come with me."
He ushered us inside and relocked the door, not so much as batting an antenna at our excellent ship name. No sense of fun, this guy. As we walked between the aisles of shiny merchandise, bracelets and bangles and exoskeleton accents, distant shouting filtered through the closed door in the back. Somebody sounded mad.
"Wait here,"
said the Mesmer, gesturing toward the front counter. Then he disappeared into the back room. Somebody was definitely mad. When the door opened, I caught something about professionalism, in a tone that suggested this was a boss dressing down employees. A glance at Z told me he had no idea either. When the mesmer came back, who never did introduce himself, I realized, he was carrying a high-end stasis case for shipping, and he walked quickly. I still caught a few words that sounded like a demand for someone to fess up. "Everything okay back there?" I asked. He ignored me.
"This must arrive in pristine condition,"
he told Z, setting the case on the counter.
"Of course," Z said.
I had the tablet for him to sign for the pickup, and I held it out wordlessly. The guy snatched it out of my hands, holding it with one pincher arm and typing with the little wrist fingers on his other. His antenna was scowling. Z gestured to the back room.
"Is someone being disappointing?" "Yes," he snapped. "One of the night workers has been coming out to the storefront and leaving display items on the floor, and they refuse to admit who."
He shoved the tablet back at me, waving at one of the aisles. Now that he mentioned it, there was an empty display case at the top, with the glass door swung wide.
"Foolish thing to do," Z said. "Extremely! There is no reason for it, and we are going to find out who."
Since he was ranting at Z and not me, I stepped over to where I could see better. A half-dozen glittery arm casts were arranged in a circle on the floor. Weird. He kept going.
"I'm sure it was a human because of those filthy little marks they leave on everything they touch. The only reason we employ them in the crafting sector is because all the items are cleaned before they're presented to paying customers. The only one who works up front is under strict orders to wear gloves at all times. But now one of them is sneaking out here and fondling the merchandise, and leaving it on the floor."
I took a closer look at the door to the display case. Yeah, those looked like human fingerprints, lit up guiltily by the morning sun.
Z asked, "Any clues about which human it is?" "No. I'm not even ruling out the one with the gloves because this behavior makes no sense and gloves can be taken off. I swear, I'm this close to firing the lot of them."
I walked back over to join them. You know every human's fingerprint is different, right? They both looked at me in silence, which was answer enough. I said, "If you have your employees all leave prints on something else, you should be able to just match them up." The shopkeep's antenna and mandibles flared into a complicated shape.
"What?"
"Sure." I looked at my own fingers. Mine are a kind of oval loop, though some people have perfect spirals or a gentle wave. He clacked both pinchers.
"And you will be able to say which one matches those marks?"
"I should be," I said, hurrying back over for a closer look. "At the very least, I can narrow it down for you. These are nice and clear. We just need to get a clean set from everybody else that's not smudged."
"Yes."
He looked around the storefront full of shiny, valuable things. He frowned.
"We'll have to let them touch something."
I looked too. "Oh, what about the window?" He stared at it for a moment.
"Acceptable."
Z was skeptical.
"Will the culprit deliberately smear their marks?" "Then that will be a sign of guilt," the shopkeep hissed.
"What if there are multiple smudges from clumsiness? You might want to prepare for more than one round of dirtying your window."
He hissed again. "I will make them do it right the first time."
I had an idea. What if you told them they were touching the window for a different reason? Both sets of bug eyes turned towards me.
"Such as?"
I fished the pack of heat stickers out of my bag. "Do you think they know what these are?" The shopkeep leaned his head forward.
"What are they?"
"Heat stickers, but we could pretend they're lie detectors." We could, and we did. It was a silly way to get fingerprints, but I'd read about fictional detectives who'd gone to more elaborate lengths to solve a mystery than this, and it might even work. The big front windows had a row of shells under them that meant our suspects would have to lean forward slightly in order to whisper their statements of innocence. They would need to press their hands against the window for balance. I let Z pretend to be the visiting expert while I stuck heat stickers to the window. He did a good job of acting mysterious and aloof while he explained things to the gaggle of employees that the other mesmer herded out. As promised, only some were humans. The others were strong-arms with a couple water wheels. No heat seekers ready to ask awkward questions about the suspiciously familiar-looking lie detectors made for banks. They had to be mounted somewhere stable, you see, and the suspect had to be close enough to breathe on them. They were normally warm and would change colours and turn cold when they detected lies. Totally believable. Really, it didn't matter if they believed it or not. They all lined up, looking baffled, and did as their two hissing bosses commanded. The mesmer from the back room, a large green and brown lady who would have been great at hide-and-seek in the forests of my home, told the humans to go first. Then, when they had all left prints on the window, she told the rest not to bother. While they looked even more confused, she waved me forward with the door to the display case. It had detached neatly, perfect for carrying around and comparing fingerprints. I held it by the corners and took a close look at the first set. "Not this one," I announced. "Too triangular." Behind me, a human woman asked incredulously, "Are you checking fingerprints?" "Yep," I told her, moving on to the next. The other humans had a variety of reactions to that. An older guy laughed, a younger woman was worried that her hands might be dirty with crafting materials, and others made indistinct noises. Some of the non-human employees asked for an explanation of what was happening. I kept up my sleuthing, hoping that the prints were all as different as the first couple. I didn't want to look like I didn't actually know what I was doing. "Oh my god!" a guy burst out. "It was a marriage proposal, okay? I thought Sierra would be the one to find it." I turned around at that, and found one of the humans spilling the beans. "I'm sorry I didn't just ask you," he said to the woman next to him. "I wanted it to be special, like the rock circles we used to leave each other under the tree. I put a note at the top of the earring display because it looks like a tree." I looked at the display he pointed at. I couldn't see a note from here, but it was distinctly tree-shaped. The two mesmer bosses loomed over the guy.
"This was courtship?" asked the tall one. "Not a deliberate effort to let our valuables get stepped on or stolen?"
"No," the guy said. "I'd never do that. I really thought she'd be the only one to see it in the morning, and she'd just put them back and find my note." The woman, Sierra, shook her head. "I got moved to the adhesive section. I haven't been over here all week." The man put his hands over his face while the bosses conferred.
"If you promise to never tamper with the displays again, you may keep your job," the tall one told him.
"I'll never do it again," he said. "I don't have to. I think." That last was aimed at Sierra. Her answer was a dramatic kiss that made the rest of the humans applaud, and the mesmers stepped back in distaste.
"If you are quite done eating each other's faces," said the smaller mesmer, "you are both assigned to cleaning the window and the display of all traces of human filth. Do not leave more."
"Yes, sir," they chorused. The other humans gave them congratulatory pats on the back and exclamations of relief that the whole mess was over. The non-humans seemed mostly relieved. A couple still looked confused, but clearly didn't want to ask for details. I handed over the display case door, then peeled a heat sticker off the window. Guess we won't need these anymore. Everybody went back to what they were supposed to be doing. The night shift got their things together to go home, while the day shift took over the crafting section and opened the store for business. More lights came on. Someone unlocked the front door. Z convinced the bosses to reimburse us with the heat stickers. That was nice. I still had more in the pack, and these would be warm for a while still. I peeled off the last one and decided against putting them in the water bag. No good making the thing evaporate on the way back to the ship. Instead, I stuck a finger between each and got a fistful of stickers held by their edges. My hand was only a little hot, and it would be a short walk. Speaking of which,
"Let's go,"
Z said. Pinch your arms full of the shipping case. I opened the door and held it while he passed. Taking up my position at the window was the happy couple, equipped with their own window cleaning supplies. Luckily, they wouldn't have to reach up as far as the strong arms had. They were talking quietly about finding new jobs where they could have the same sleep schedule, and hopefully bosses that didn't mind a fingerprint or two. I smiled and let the door shut, leaving fingerprints only on the handle.